Hare Krishna. Today, welcome to the first Bhakti Shastri class in the new temple, ISKCON of Silicon Valley at Mountain View. So, as we discussed in the previous class, we will have the students from Bhakti Shastri speak about the chapter which we are going to discuss for about 15 minutes or so, 15-20 minutes. And then after that, we can have the regular class. So today, Malini has volunteered to present the overview of the 14th chapter. And then we'll hear the overview, and then we can continue with the class as usual. So I request Malini to come and give the introduction. No, you can come because it's there on the screen. Yes, your wish, no problems. Yeah, sure. Organize yourself. Actually, people who are on the broadcast, they can't see you. Okay. No, you can't. Okay, good.
Yeah, I will move. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present Bhagavad-gita chapter 14. As Srivas Prabhu was mentioning, I'm going to give an overview, and then you will get to hear from Srivas Prabhu as soon as possible. So, in chapter 14, it starts off where it was left off on chapter 13, where Krishna says that you have to humbly develop the knowledge which is free from material entanglement. And this material entanglement is caused by the association of the modes of nature. So the 14th chapter starts with what are the modes of nature. And the first verse, Krishna talks that, he says that the first verse Krishna says that to Arjuna, that I will explain you the best of knowledge, knowing which the sages have attained perfection previously. And Prabhupada talks in his purport that if one understands this knowledge of the 14th chapter, then they will actually attain perfection and they will go back to the spiritual world like the other sages. So, chapter 14 talks about 4 things. One is what is modes of material nature, how do they act, how do they bind, and how do they give liberation. So, Krishna starts off with that statement saying that he's going to explain knowledge which is much better than what he has already explained. And in the second verse, Krishna explains that once you become fixed in this knowledge, then you will attain the nature like my own, which is a transcendental nature like my own. And Prabhupada explains in the purport saying that, what do you mean by the nature like my own? Which means that you will attain same qualities as what Krishna has. And then he says, Prabhupada explains that nature like my own doesn't mean merging into the Brahman, but you still maintain your individuality even after attaining the nature like Krishna's. And then after that, Krishna starts explaining what is this Brahman, I mean, how this material nature will come about. And then he says that this Brahman is a total material substance, and it is something like, it's like a mother. Brahman is like a mother, and Krishna, he impregnates all the living entities into the Brahman, so he is a seed-giving father. So Krishna impregnates the material nature which is Brahman, and from there the product which comes out is all the living entities. Not just the living entities as a soul, but which are covered by the material substance which is the Brahman. And then in that verse, actually Srila Prabhupada also gives an analogy about a scorpion and the eggs. It is said that scorpion lays eggs in the rice, and some people say that the scorpions come out of the rice because they were in contact with the rice. But actually it is not that, because it actually comes from the scorpion in similar way. We are all coming from Krishna, but it's just that we are in contact with the material nature. That's why we are byproducts of the material nature. And after that, from verse number 6 to verse number 18, Krishna talks about all the different modes of material nature, that there are 3 kinds of modes of material nature, and he talks about what are their qualities of each mode in detail. Then he talks about what are the effects, what kind of effects do they give if a person is in that mode, then what kind of conditioning they have when they are acting under that particular mode, and a few representations on like for example a Brahmanas, they represent the mode of goodness. And similarly he explains all he gives a nice chart. Actually we can make a nice chart. I have made a chart, I can share with you later that what are the qualities, effects. But in summary, the qualities of the mode of goodness is that it is pure, and the effects are that one becomes wiser, which means they will be illuminated, and they will be free from sinful reactions, and because they are free from sinful reactions, they don't have material miseries, so automatically they will be happy. So that is a symptom of the modes of goodness. And people in the mode of goodness have a sense of advancement, which is good and bad in a way, because if you feel that you are advanced in material life, then you become proud. And once you become proud, you just continue to be in that same thing and don't think of coming out of birth and death. And then passion, the qualities of mode of passion is that it develops between attraction between man and woman. And then the effects are that somebody has increased hankering for material enjoyment, that I want this, I want that. It's a lot of sense gratification, and they want honor in the society. Their entire life is based on their family, how they want to improve their conditions in life. And one of the conditioning is that people who are in the mode of passion, they are bound by work, which means that they are very, they always want to work more and more and more to get better condition in the society. And modern civilization, Prabhupada mentions, is under the mode of passion and ignorance, because they are trying to improve the quality of life every day. And the mode of ignorance is exactly opposite to the goodness, because goodness is made of knowledge, and mode of ignorance is opposite. There is no knowledge, so everybody is ignorant, they are in darkness. And the effects are that they become mad. Prabhupada uses madness a lot. He becomes mad, they indulge in a lot of sleep, then they are lazy, and they don't care for the spirit soul. That's one of the effects that they have. And the conditioning that a person has is that they are bound to this condition of material life again and again. They don't even try to get out. So that's the thing about passion, the ignorance. And then in the text 10 and 11 and all, Krishna explains how there is a supremacy, competition going on between the modes. It's not that one person is always in the mode of goodness, passion or ignorance. It's just that they go up and down. And one point which was stuck to me was that how do you know that a person is in a particular mode? Prabhupada says it's by the activities that they perform. So you cannot recognize a person unless you see their activities and what kind of activities that they are performing. And then there are symptoms given for each mode, goodness, passion and ignorance, what kind of symptoms they have, like what we have discussed previously. And one symptom of mode of goodness is that a symptom of extreme happiness, which is there only in the mode of goodness. And then text 14 onwards, it says like what happens when they die in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. They go up and down. And what are the results that they obtain. And till 18, Krishna explains all of the different characteristics of the modes. And then text 19, Krishna explains how we can overcome these modes. And then in the 19th verse, Krishna says that when one properly sees that in all activities, no other performer is at work, but it's only the modes of material nature, plus who knows that the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, then he attains to the nature of Krishna, which ties back to the second verse, which Krishna was saying that if you understand this knowledge, then you will attain the nature of my own. And then Krishna is tying back to that 19th verse, which says that if you understand that only modes are acting, and then you know me, that I am above all these modes, then you attain to my spiritual nature. And then Prabhupada explains how you can do that is by approaching a spiritual master and then follow his instructions. And then Arjuna asks question to Krishna towards the end of this chapter. He asks 3 questions. One is that what are the symptoms by which who transcended these modes, and what is his behavior, and how does he transcend these modes. And in text 22 to 25, Krishna explains 2 things. One is what are the symptoms and what are the behavior of a person in these modes, of a person who is above these modes. And in that purport, in that verse, Krishna has given so many qualities about a person who actually has transcended the modes. And in the purport also, Prabhupada explains that the qualities of the material modes in the body will act, but the spirit soul, the self, is aloof from such activities, which means that he doesn't associate with those activities, nor he want to come out of those activities. In that consciousness, then even in the present body, they can actually be, they can transcend the modes of material nature, even living in this present body. And then after that, Krishna explains the last question which was asked by Arjuna, which says that how do I transcend the modes of nature? And then Krishna gives the verse which says Mam chayo abhipicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samiti taitan brahma bhoya kalpate. which means that one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances. Then one transcends the modes of material nature and comes to a level of Brahman. And Srivas Prabhu will explain more on why it is a Brahman, it is given as a Brahman there. And then the next verse, Krishna explains that he is the Brahman, and then he explains that if you are performing devotional service, and that unflinchingly, that is your constitutional position. So this in overall is like a summary of the entire chapter of chapter 14. And I had a wonderful experience to give an overview, because I had only 10 minutes of time to give this chapter overview, but I read the chapter thoroughly. And I'm grateful to Prabhu that actually to give me an opportunity. So, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Malini, for giving the overview, and more importantly, maintaining the time. It's 15 minutes, exactly 15 minutes you were done. Yeah, maybe I am to be blamed for that. All right. So, once again, I'm grateful and thank you for coming for the Bhakti Shastri class today. We'll discuss the 14th verse, and more importantly, we'll discuss the date for the exam, midterm exam. And then because we are completing the 14th today, and then we'll complete the whole Bhagavad-gita for this semester and go on to the Nectar of Devotion for next semester. So before we start, let's take a moment, collect all the sincerity and our helplessness in the heart, and beg Radha Madan Mohan to help us understand this chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Matsamo nasti papatma, na paradhi cha kaschana, parihare pilajjame, kim bhruve purushottama. Bhumau skalita padanam, bhumireva valambanam, tvai jata paradhanam, tvameva sharanam prabhu. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga, sikshartameka purusha purana. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari, Kripambudiryastamaham prapadye. Kalam nashtam bhakti yogam nijamya, pradushkartum Krishna Chaitanya nama, avirbhuta tasya padaravinde, gadam gadam liyatam chitta bringa. Radhe Vrindavanadhishe Karunamritavahini Kripaya Nijapatabja Dasyam Mayam Pradiyatam Govinda Vallabhe Radhe Prarthaye Tvamaham Sada Tvadiyam Iti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvaya Saha Radha Radhita Radhesha Radhika Prana Vallabha Radha Ramana Vande Tvam Radhika Prema Nirjita. So today we'll be discussing the 14th chapter, and as Malini so eloquently said in her purport, this chapter is about the four modes of material nature. If we see the 13th chapter and 22nd verse, this is the one of Vaisheshika Prabhu's favorite verse, and it's on page 598 on your book. Hare Krishna. The Purusha Prakritistohi Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasadyoni Janmasu, page 589. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil. Actually, if you are... So this particular verse in 13th chapter, Krishna explains at length. This one verse has been expanded into a whole chapter, which is the 14th verse. Because when the jiva or the living entity enjoys with the modes of material nature, Krishna wants to actually give the full implications of what happens when the jiva enjoys modes of material nature. So with that background, we go on to the 14th chapter. And let's read the first verse of the 14th chapter. The first few verses of 14th chapter, actually Krishna talks about, first 4 verses he talks about Brahman and how material modes of nature act. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Param Bhuya Pravakshami Jnananam Jnanamuttamam Yajñatva Munaya Sarve Param Siddhamito Gataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." So Srila Prabhupada, just we'll read quickly the purport, first few lines. From the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th chapter, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the Lord Himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he comes to the understanding of devotional service. Now this particular statement may be a little counterintuitive to what Srila Prabhupada has told in his earlier purports, where one cannot understand God through philosophical speculation. But here, please understand, the Bhagavad-gita is divided into 3 sections. The first section is from chapter 1 through chapter 6, and that specifically deals with Karma Yoga. And from chapter 7th to chapter 12th, it specifically deals with Bhakti Yoga. From chapter 13th all the way through 18th, Krishna is talking about Jnana Yoga. When one takes the knowledge of Krishna and tries to philosophically speculate in terms like what are the modes of nature, you have to accept the modes of nature from Krishna, because he can tell what the modes of material nature are. For example, if you take a person who's completely unfamiliar with Gita and he's working hard day and night, and you say to him, "Sir, you are in the mode of passion," he'll say, "What are you talking about? What is mode of passion?" Because unless Krishna reveals this knowledge to you, you cannot know this knowledge, how the modes are acting upon you. So Srila Prabhupada's implication here is not to kind of reject everything, whatever he said so far about philosophical speculation, and just jump into philosophical speculation. He says that this knowledge is such that by analyzing this knowledge and understanding what the modes of material nature are, then you can easily be understanding who Krishna is. You know that, okay, the modes are acting, then the urge will be that how to get out of those modes. For example, a person who is mad, you say, "You are mad," he'll say, "No, you are mad." The point is, a person is not even aware that he or she is mad. But when you understand that, and when modes of nature act upon you, then you say, "Okay, now I know, I accept I am mad. What should I do to get out of my madness or cure my madness?" So, if one understands the modes of material nature, then one can at least ask ways, which, as Malini pointed out, Arjuna later asks, "What should I do to overcome these? These are modes." The other things of modes of nature is the beauty is there inexhaustible. From the time the creation was set in place, the modes have been acting on everybody, from demigods to the ants. They have been acting so powerfully with no cessation. Day after day, year after year, month after month, the modes are like powerfully acting. No, they never get tired. They never kind of say, "Okay, I need to take a break." As long as the conditioned souls are there, modes are acting. Without doubt. Every moment, every second, you are being acted upon by the modes of material nature. Sometimes getting goodness, sometimes getting passion, sometimes getting ignorance, sometimes distress, sometimes happiness. Continuously, modes act all across the living entities, all across the universes. So when we have this understanding, then you realize, wow, something really powerful is acting upon me and I should something do about it. But in any ways, Krishna further describes about the modes of material nature. Text 2. He gives what is the implication of overcoming the modes of material nature. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmam agataha sargepi nopajayante pralaye na vyatatanti cha. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So here again, Srila Prabhupada takes at length, he explains, what do you mean becoming like me? It's a common thing. So when Krishna says becoming like me, it means getting to my nature but not merging in me or just becoming one with me. The living entity always maintains its identity even after liberation. Unless the living entity says, I just want to merge. Just want to merge and destroy my identity. But for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that sort of conception, actually according to Prabodhananda Saraswati, is hellish. You don't want to kind of do that. It's there in the shloka book, probably we'll read it up later. Text 3. Mama yonir mahat brahma tasmin garvam dadamyaham sambhava sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of the birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living entities, O son of Bharata. So here, so at the beginning of creation, the Lord in his Brahma Jyoti, actually when in the material world is created, there is no place. Because the whole thing is spiritual world. Just like in the beginning of this, probably when the US was being formed, there were no prisons, right? The criminals came about and there was a need to create a prison at some part and then start this prison system. Similarly, when there is no material creation, there is no space, because space is not needed in spiritual world. The space is a product of material world. I have this dimension, so I need this much space to occupy. But in spiritual world, I don't need any space. There's no concept of space. So when Krishna wants to create this material world, he'll check some part of his creation, he'll take some place, some small place. He'll say, okay, let's keep this aside for the material creation. And there he creates the space, material ingredients, and that Brahman transforms to Mahatattva, and Mahatattva is what Krishna impregnates. And so it is, but again, this is in summary, nutshell, Gita is giving in summary, but if you really want to read that, third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a whole description on how, very minute details this happen. How he impregnates, how the living entities come about, what is creation, what is subcreation. It's a whole topic for some other time. Text 4. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasham brahma mahad yonir aham bija prajapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and I am the seed-giving father. So as Malini also pointed out, Srila Prabhupada, quoting Srila Prabhupada, it's like scorpion laying the eggs in rice. So that's a nice example. The scorpion lays the eggs in rice, and when the baby scorpions come out of rice, you think that rice is given birth to scorpions. So, but actually the Lord impregnates the Brahman, and then the living entities come based on that. Unless the Lord impregnates, there is no question of life. It's impossible. Because we are completely purely spiritual, and this material world is gross. So now the situation we are in is like a combination of material and spiritual. And that that arrangement is only possible by mercy of Krishna. He says, unless he wills it, it's impossible to happen. So this is a little bit about how Krishna impregnating the and then from the fifth, because once the jiva comes about, and jiva has false ego, that concept that I am different from God. Now, because the jiva wants to forget that he is a subservient person to God and a servitor of God, the modes of nature act upon that jiva. They need to animate, because jiva constitutionally has no understanding apart from Krishna. But the modes make the jiva think, okay, you are the master, you are the controller, you are the boss. But they are always acting upon. And I give this example with absolutely no disrespect to the wives of the world. It's like a dutiful wife, but a wife who's serving her husband, controls her husband by serving him. Saying, you are the boss, no, you are the boss, but she's pulling the strings from behind. There's no due respect, with all the due respect, it's just a dutiful housewife. So, it's nice one way, because Srimad Bhagavatam says that housewife is like the commander of the fort, and husband has taken shelter of that fort so that nobody can attack. So, nothing bad about it, but it is just it's just an example. So the modes also control like that, thinking that the jiva thinks, oh, I am the boss, but he is being controlled by the modes of material nature in a very subtle way, left, right and center, one way or other. Because when you understand this, you'll realize, really, am I the controller? If somebody says you are the boss, say no, the modes of material nature are the boss, Krishna is the boss. Text 5. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehe namavyayam. Material nature consists of three modes, goodness, passion and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Again, Krishna gives a hint of the origin of jiva. When the jiva comes in contact with the material nature, then he becomes conditioned. But Krishna doesn't say when, where, under what circumstances. So this gives a little bit. And we know that the conditioned nature happens because the jiva is coming in contact with the modes of material nature. And this also gives the definition of condition. We hear this word conditioned soul. What is conditioned soul? If conditioned, yeah. If under the modes of nature, then soul equal to conditioned soul. Yeah. Or if jiva less than material nature, then jiva equal to conditioned soul.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sudeep. You have a hardware definition for jiva?
So first of all, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhu, I have a question which you just mentioned about when jiva comes in contact with material nature. But in essence, if we know about how the Mahat Tattva acts, there is material nature, and then Krishna or Lord Vishnu impregnates material nature with the living beings. So it is only when the material nature is created, after that it is impregnated, and then it comes in contact. So if you go back in time, when all the jivas are there in their own spiritual form, I'm finding it a bit hard to understand where that desire came from, where it felt about being separate from the Lord, and that is why then the Lord created the material nature and the jiva came in contact with the nature. Am I making my question clear?
Not so much. Please repeat. Actually, I am pretty slow in understanding. It's not your fault.
No, Prabhu, not at all. It's what I'm trying to say is the statement that it is jiva when it comes in contact with material nature.
Yeah.
That is when the whole problem arises, right? That is when the incompatibility arises and all that.
Correct.
But first, there is the material nature that is being created first. Jivas are eternal, they're always there.
Right.
It is the material nature that is being constructed or created.
Right.
And after that thing, the living beings are impregnated into the material nature, and that is when the contact arises. That when the incompatibility arises.
Correct.
So is it basically this happens because of the jiva's inherent desire to be separate from the Lord? That is why this incompatibility is being forced upon?
Well, again, your question goes back to the origin of jiva. Why did jiva fall down from the spiritual world, or what was jiva before? And this has been beaten to death over many forums. But the simple answer is this, and Srila Prabhupada writes this. The jiva comes to the material world due to misuse of minute independence. That's what he says. There is every chance for the jiva to fall from either spiritual world or wherever situation it is, because the jiva has minute independence. I have some independence, and if I misuse my independence, then I fall into the material world. Now, under what circumstances, where, how, that's impossible to trace out. It's actually, it's because we have been conditioned into this material world for zillions, trillions, and multiplied by zillions and trillions more times. And then you'll see you've been here, your mind can't even go trace the history of time that much just for like one jiva. So the best way is we accept, yes, we are in this material world, we are conditioned by the modes of material nature, and this is the way to get out.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
And Krishna promises that once you get out, then you will never come back again, because your journey is so long, your imprisonment terms are so long that you will feel no way, no how. Thanks. One time is good. I learned my lesson.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Sudeep. Question? Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu. Tarun, you can use the mic.
Prabhuji, in the text 3, Like in the purport it's mentioned that the Mahatattva is sometimes called Brahman, so Mahatattva is the unmanifest material energy that is made to manifest whenever the creation is desired. So, but Brahman is the spiritual, it is the spiritual effulgence of the Lord. So, how to reconcile when the statement is being made that Mahatattva is known as Brahman as well?
Material energy, is it an energy of God or not? By that logic, is the Lord possessor of the material energy? Does material energy emanate from the Lord? If it emanates from the Lord, the material energy is within the Lord. If material energy is within the Lord, how is the Lord pure and transcendental? Do you get my point? The logic? So the thing is, Krishna, material energy comes from Krishna, and he is the master and controller of the energy, but possessing that energy doesn't reduce the status of Krishna as the Supreme Lord. As much as building a prison does not reduce the stature of the government. Oh man, you're so embarrassing for you, you have criminals. Yes, you have criminals, you have built the system. I'm not a prisoner, but I have the power to build the prison. That doesn't diminish my position any less. Similarly, Mahatattva, from Brahman comes Mahatattva, wherein the Lord impregnates it. So if you see, the Brahman is formless, and so is the material energy of Krishna. In the sense, we have variegated forms, but in essence it's formless, and it takes forms according to different circumstances, by the modes of material nature when they act. I'll give you a simple example. This body, my body and your body are different. You are much younger than me, so your construction is different. The time has acted upon me to bring changes about in my body. So is material nature, is it having a form or is it formless? Or the form is changing continuously? The Mahatattva is a part of Brahman that is being impregnated by the Lord for the material purposes.
So is Mahatattva existing eternally, or it comes from Brahman at some point?
It comes from Brahman at some point. And in the sense, manifested form. The unmanifested form is always present with the Lord. Mahatattva, in its unmanifested state or spiritual state, is called Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha becomes Mahatattva when it is materially manifested. The Lord just converts these energies from unmanifested, from subtle to gross. If you see, my request is read Srimad Bhagavatam. You will see how from sound comes air. How, like from ether comes sound. It's from subtle to gross. The same energy is being transformed. So you can't have a black and white. This is matter, this is spiritual. And there is a subtle transformations that go on. So these are, Bhagavad-gita is just, Krishna gives everything in a nutshell. Really compacts it. And we read Srimad Bhagavatam, it will come out in a much better way. Does that a little bit answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
I know it's not the fulfilling answer, but so is the subject matter, which is pretty long, and which is so we can't compress it. We can maybe, if all the devotees here graduate, become Bhakti Shastris in Bhakti Vaibhava, we'll all learn together on how Krishna creates, what exactly happens, and what headaches Brahma has to undergo every day. Literally, it is a headache because his mind is like going around trying to create, and then he has to pray to Krishna.
It's actually very complicated. I started meditating, but I couldn't get it.
Yeah, right. On one hand, it seems to be easy. More goodness, passion, ignorance, they act. But really, how do they act? From where is their energy coming from? How powerful are they? What is the source? How material creation comes. Is material creation formless or forms? They are full of forms, like we are sitting here, and there are so many forms. But in actuality, material world is formless. It's just the atoms, they come together, they take shape, and they are gone. Again, it's just... So it's the material nature is created in such a way that the formless things have form, and the actual forms like the Supreme Lord become things people think they are formless. It's a perverted vision of the same thing.
Prabhu, just in this context, so material, when we mean material energy, is it in the form of Parvati or Durga, or is it like...
Durga is the superintendent, means she is a controller of material energy. She herself has so many other energies to help her. Everybody is deputed by the Lord to help Krishna.
But she has a form, right?
She has a form, of course. She has a form. The point is, just like Ganga Devi, if you see, when you see her externally, she seems to be a river with no form. Really, where is the form of Ganga Devi? Here, nowhere. She's a person. So is Yamraj. Who says, I didn't see death? Did you actually see Yamraj? No. But you see death. So the material nature, or the superintendent of controllers of material nature, they have a form personified, but their manifestation in the material world to our naked eyes is formless. Death is impersonal and it's formless. Nobody can see. But yet everybody can perceive death. And we know that Yamraj is there, a controller of death. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Text 6. Tatra Sattvam, page 607. Okay, Malini, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you are following a different version, so the pages could be a little different. Text 6. Okay, that's a nice point though. Text 6 of 14th chapter. Tatra Sattvam nirmalatvat prakasham anamayam sukha sangena badnati jnana sangena chanaga. O sinless one, the modes of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Text 7. Rajo ragatmakam viddhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tan nibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. Text 8. Tamasastu ajnana jam vidhi mohanam sarva dehinam pramadalasya nidrabhis tani badnati bharata. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So here, first starting, Krishna gives a general characteristics of what the modes are. General characteristics. Please understand the first point where Krishna talks about mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is free from all sinful reactions, which means that you have to be constantly in the mode of goodness. Then you'll be free from sinful reactions. Like the sages of the past, they would perfectly perform their duties, and they would be firmly fixed in knowledge, act in a way that they cause no sinful reactions. Means it's not they wouldn't eat, but they would be perfect in offering and cooking food and everything in the way that they don't incur sin. Or they would be very self-controlled to the point that they knew what was sinful, what was not, and act accordingly. But if there was every chance that, as we learn later, as Malini also mentioned in her overview, the modes will compete. Just, okay, let me hang on to mode of goodness. It's free of all sin. I'll just hang on to it. The point of the matter is that the jiva soul cannot hang on much because the modes are very strong. I mean, you can be fixed in the modes, but eventually some event may happen. For example, Ajamil, he was firmly in the mode of goodness, pure Brahmana, with no vices. Suddenly he saw somebody doing something, and then his whole mind turned around. So that is the point. The jiva, because he is marginal potency of Krishna, there is a tendency for him to fall down at any time. On your own, when you try to say, I'll go and hang on to mode of goodness, without help from Krishna, there is a high chance you will fall down. Only surrender to Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports. Unless you surrender to Krishna, it's impossible. Daivi esha gunamai mama maya durataya mam eva ye prapadyante maya metantarante. You cannot overcome these modes of material nature unless you surrender to Krishna. Questions? So, yes.
Prabhuji, so the modes of material nature are competing with each other, and that competition is different for every living entity or anything in the material world. And so how to understand when one desires, like we hear this Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yuvitadati Kaman. So the Lord is providing for everyone's desires. So if one soul desires strongly to be in a certain mode, so are the modes still independently of the desire of the soul competing with each other and forcing the soul to be in one mode? Or because the soul is desiring strongly, Krishna is acting? And so how to understand this?
Excellent question. My humble request is you hold on to that question, and when we come to the verse where we talk about modes competing with each other, we'll discuss a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Text 9. After giving general qualities, Krishna further goes on. Text 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati raja karmani bharata jnanam avrutya tu tamaha pramade sanjayate utya. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. So, after giving a general characteristics of what the modes of material nature are, the next quality Krishna talks about is that what are the results? What is the general effect for the jiva when you are in one mode or another? You get in contact with mode of goodness, you have happiness. Mode of passion, fruitive work. And mode of ignorance is madness. Text 10. Rajas tamas chavi bhuya sattvam bhavati bharata rajahas sattvam tamas chaiva tamahas sattvam rajastata. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So, coming back to your question, Chaitanya, is that the jiva, when you are under the modes, you have an option to choose which mode you want to be associated with. And the more you choose to associate with certain mode, the more you will be conditioned to that mode. And you avoid certain activities which will condition you to some other modes. I'll tell you an example. I want to earn $20 million in next 5 years. For that, I have to work very, very, very hard. Do you have a choice to not earn this $20 million? Or remove that desire to not earn those $20 million? Do we? Yes. So the point is, the conditioned soul, at least learning about the modes, says I can exert my influence to attach myself to certain modes. I can't overcome the modes totally, but I can act in such a way that I can be spiritually advanced knowing what the modes are. Suppose if you have to say your goal is, I want to be spiritually advanced, but I want to become a billionaire. And when the two come together, then at least you realize that one is taking me towards higher aspirations and going to be helping me over lifetimes, whereas other is just temporary. Why should I exert myself? So that freedom, the jiva's choices open up. based on the choice and based on the attachment to Krishna even within those modes. Please understand that just hanging on to modes is not enough. Even in the mode of goodness, it's still you take birth again and again. Again and again you take birth. And based on the time, based on the place you take birth, based on the yuga you take birth, the modes can act strongly. And the jiva, there is no guarantee, okay, mode of goodness seems to be great, I'll live here birth after birth in mode of goodness. Not going to happen. Because the modes are, again, they're going to compete. You give them small gap, the mode of passion will take over. All you need to do is, person in the mode of goodness, I'm pure, this, as Malini pointed out in her overview, that persons who are in the mode of goodness, they can become proud. Oh, I'm so advanced than others. I'm so knowledgeable than others. I'm so well off than others. I'm so healthy than others. I'm so peaceful than others. The thing is, that pride actually can when that pride is sitting in the heart, mode of passion takes over. Please understand, the modes of nature are subtler than the subtlest, grosser than the grossest. If the man wants gross enjoyment, the modes of nature can provide based on person's karma. And so is subtler. So if that pride is sitting in the heart, the modes of material nature, the passion will start creeping in. Oh, you are so important, you are so great. Oh, but there is a competition here. That person seems to be more at learning than you. Oh, no, I'll try to compete and I'll read more. So in that way, what is goodness is slowly turning into passion. And then, and because that passion, oh no, I'm working so hard, it doesn't matter that, that still a person is better than me. I need to even work harder. Instead of working 8 hours a day, I'll work 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. And then work 15 hours a day for 5 years, you'll be mad. Because it will go in the mode of ignorance. See how the modes transform based on one's desires. Purushottam Prabhu, you had a comment.
Actually, it reminds me that one time in Fremont we went book distribution with Vaisheshika Prabhu, and we knocked the door there until unless it was going good. And they're bachelors, all are students, and they're sitting, and they came to Vaisheshika and we are explaining. And in that room, one guy started the TV with a big noise. And Prabhu said to me that now the mode of passion or ignorance will take over. It happened. They're supposed to take Srimad Bhagavatam or some set, but they end up with small book. So these modes will compete each other. When we go these houses, right, you can feel it.
Right.
As soon as they open the door, we feel they're in goodness. Or it's not we are judging them.
Right.
It's like
correct.
Based on the environment, you can understand. And
I completely agree. Actually, Krishna recommends that if you see modes of nature acting in the world, and if that is judging, keep judging all the time. I will come later, because one who sees that modes are only acting, actually he is the one who actually sees. So we'll come to that verse.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Yes, Prashant had a question, then Mukharavindra Prabhu.
Yeah. I'm still not clear on the concept of I'm a jiva, right? And I'm acting under the modes of material nature, and I'm still the non-doer. How is that possible? I'm not clear on that concept.
We'll hold on to that thought.
The reason I'm asking this is, I think in the last class and in the semester before, we read the words Prakriti Kriyamanani, right? That clearly tells the translation, that spirit soul bewildered by the false ego. He thinks he's the doer of the activities, but he's not. So that's the reason.
Hold on to that thought. We'll come. Definitely, Krishna later addresses that, and I'll answer your question when we come to that verse. All right. Mukharavindra Prabhu.
I had just one comment when you were talking like how modes work. So I remind that in one of the Prabhupada told about Yamunacharya quotes. So in his previous life, he was very great scholar and he was falling. But as soon as he went to kingdom and that false pride you were mentioning in the class, and he got into the other business, then at last somehow he came into Krishna, and again he got the consciousness through the mercy of his grandfather's friend. So it's how the modes, different modes work in different part of his life.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Text 11. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate Jnanam yada tada vidyad vivriddhim sattvam. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Text 12. Lobha pravritti aramba karmanam asamaspriha rajasyetani jayante vivriddhe bharatarshaba. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Text 13. Aprakasho pravrittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivriddhe kurunandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. So here, the effects of being attached to the modes of nature are the qualities. For example, in the mode of goodness, all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Doesn't mean we see lights flashing out of eyes, ears, and nose and mouth. Because Srila Prabhupada writes that all your activities through your senses, they become purified. You know what is proper, what is not proper, and how to act accordingly. What to eat, what not to eat. Your tongue is purified by that knowledge, and it automatically says, I don't want to eat this. We have had, in Cupertino, we go for the Bhakti Vriksha program every Saturday. And there is this one very nice couple that comes. And they were sincere, very sincerely, they were listening, attending. And 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, before when they started coming, they would regularly cook meat at their home and eat. And after they started coming to the classes and listening to Bhagavad-gita, now they say, you know what, we don't want to eat meat. And they stopped cooking at home. They sometimes have this desire, they go outside and eat once in a while. But the beauty is that this is not anything extraordinary about me, but it is just that Bhagavad-gita, when you get that knowledge, then automatically your senses realize that what am I doing? Why am I wasting time? It's that is the purpose. That's the power of Gita. And then those who go on book distribution, they are giving this message to everybody, and they are helping the whole humanity, which is the best form of help. Otherwise, how much food can you give? Otherwise, what happens? Really, even if the heart is good, then you will end up like that, charity in San Francisco, which serves beef to homeless people during Christmas. The intention is good, but you are plunging everybody and yourself into severe karmic reactions. Because you don't have the knowledge. What is binding, what is liberating, what is conditioned, what is non-conditioned, how to get out of this. So important. Just on a fundamental level also, to have knowledge of Gita, even if you don't want to advance in spiritual life, I don't care about spiritual life, have knowledge of Gita. It will help you in the long run. Otherwise, you'll just become mad. Really, people, if you don't have the knowledge of Gita, and if severe reverses happen in life, severe troubles take hold, people take to drinking, people take to so many other substance abuse just to forget those miseries. Not knowing where they are coming from, why am I suffering, what should I do about it, what's the permanent means to get over it. So, yeah. Yes, Shamalangi Mataji.
So, Prabhu, suppose somebody is in mode of goodness, but he or she starts associating with somebody who's in mode of ignorance or passion. So, then also there is there's a tendency to get overpowered by the other.
Definitely. Sanjayate kama. With the people you associate, the desires develop. And Srila Prabhupada writes also in Nectar of Instruction, a man is known by the company he keeps. If you go out regularly with drunkards, it is not if you will become a drunkard, it is when you will be a drunkard. So, yes. Having said that, I just want to add a caveat, if you are forced to as a part of some job or something like that, then you should do it with bare minimum caution and see the risk and be very, very, cautious about such dealings. Tolerate the situation and just pray to Krishna to get out as soon as you can. Because you are forced to kind of going into with your colleagues into bars or some other places. One has to be really careful. And one cannot play footloose with those kind of activities. It's okay, I'm going to Hare Krishna temple, that's okay, chanting. I can go regularly, nothing will happen. Krishna says modes are very strong. Don't underestimate them.
They will lack.
Okay. Tarun, you ask a question.
No, just after reading this 3 modes of material nature, it sounds like they are so powerful. I'm seeing a conflict with the free will that Krishna had given to us. I'm like so much confused. It's like a robot then?
Actually, very, very good question. It's an excellent question. So, if a person is in prison, does he have free will or not? He has free will, but it is restricted very severely. But using that, still he has the free will to the point that it seems that prisoners have no life. They are programmed. They are robots. You have to wear whatever dress you are given. You have to eat whatever food you are given. You have to get up at a time. You have to do certain activities every day. Otherwise, you will have punishment. So when the jiva says, Krishna, I don't want you, let me go under the modes. This is what happens. So, but when we surrender to Krishna, the same modes become so easy to cross over, as if they never existed in the first place. They become light. They become insignificant. So it is just the jiva's awakening and turning my face towards Krishna is all is needed. But you are right. If you are not aware of this, then you are very severely restricted in the world. Modes are powerfully acting upon you. You better, seriously in the human form of life understand what is this all about. Whoa, modes, okay, I need to take care of this stuff, pretty urgent right now. So that sort of thing happens in human life. And when one is in Krishna conscious. Otherwise, you can see, right? People, for example, if they are consuming alcoholic beverages, throughout their life they will consume. And sometimes to the point even they are willing to risk their health just to keep up their activity or habit. Why? Because the modes are acting powerfully, they won't give you release. The other thing is by serving the modes, okay, I'll get some release. Vaishesh Prabhu quotes this Kama Adinam Katina Katina. Actually, we'll read up that verse. Let's all read together. It's a beautiful verse, which kind of, now that we are, it's on Bhakti Rasa, no, it's that is 401. Let's all read together. Kamadinam katina katida palita durnideshas tesham jata maina karunana trapashopa shantihi utsrijaitan atayadupate sampraptam baddha buddhis tvamayata sharanam abhayam mam niyungshvatmadasye. O my Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted disorders of the lusty desires. Although I have rendered them so much service, they have not shown me any mercy to me. I have not been ashamed to serve them, nor have I even desired to give them up. O my Lord, O head of the Yadu dynasty, recently, however, my intelligence has been awakened, and now I am giving them up. Due to transcendental intelligence, I now refuse to obey the unwanted orders of these desires. And I now come to you to surrender myself at your fearless lotus feet. Kindly engage me in your personal service and save me. So the point is, unless one comes to this point, Krishna, I surrender unto you, the modes will act. Without cessation, and they will not let you up. Any lifetimes. People think, let me commit suicide, I'll get away from all this. As soon as you take birth again, they start. Yes.
Otherwise, Just a comment. Look, it's kind of a joke. This one devotee was explaining that these modes of nature, right? It will act like if you go to Indian railways, right? There, everybody jam-packed in one seat, and one lean man will come, is a family member, and said, "Can I get a little space of seat?" Said, "Okay, you can sit." And later his wife comes, and later his kids comes, and by the time you will be in down. So we should not give lineage, like, when we are strict to the process, then like Prabhupada said, right, like when stick to ourselves, compassionate to others. So, yeah, thank you.
True, thank you. And also, sometimes it is good to be compassionate to ourselves too, in case we kind of fall down, because as Tarunji said, the modes seem to be so strong and the jiva seems to be so helpless, and there every chance that we can bob up and down. And then, while you shouldn't be too lenient with yourself, you shouldn't be too harsh with yourself, because you're not the controller. Just like a child, floating on the waves of the ocean, you are just being bobbed up and down. The only thing we have to restrict ourselves is that for a minute, for a second, for my whole life, I will not budge from the fact that I have to surrender to Krishna. That's my attitude. Whatever may happen, I may be the most degraded wretch that can walk on this face of earth, or I may be the highest possible power. I don't care. This is what my attitude is, and I'll always, never ever think that anything else apart from Krishna can give me happiness. Now the modes will act, they'll throw me, they'll push me, people will abuse me, harass me, insult me, whatever. Happens, I can't control that. But for a second I will not. That's how, if we keep up that attitude, then Krishna will certainly say, all right, modes, stop on this guy. Stop, just like, seriously, you may be the most criminal. One sign from Obama says, release this man. Gone. Out of prison. Sorry, you had questions, comments? Madhukar.
Yes, Prabhu. I was remembering that other last semester sloka, unless you engage your senses in higher taste, you will not be able to get out of that.
Nice.
And my question was, in the topic of bar, is it not okay to socially accompany our friends and colleagues and end up just having juices in the bar? Or
But the point is, you can... Please be aware of the risks. Please be aware of the fact that at any moment it can happen that one might actually start drinking in that company if you keep that company on a very regular basis. Because you feel the social pressure and people will be looking at you every time you order. Okay, everybody's ordering some beer or whiskey, you say, get me milk. Really? And then,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
And then you will think, it's not good. But I want to keep the company. I feel uncomfortable because I'm not matching up with them. Then you will say, okay, what it? In that spur of moment, the mind gives in. All right, let me. And it's just a matter of time. So the idea is, the psychology is like that. It's best to avoid if you can.
If you are determined and not touch anything of this, is it still okay?
That's my point. Your determination is something you don't trust on a long-term basis. Short-term basis, maybe it will work. Okay. And as long as you have good association of devotees, it will absolutely, maybe it will work to an extent, but long-term basis, please don't have that, don't trust on that determination. That's my point. Yes? What's that? Yes, Sudeep Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji. I didn't forget you. I was just answering this question.
Not at all, Prabhu. It's quite all right if you even forget me. But the point is, I just had a comment. I mean, there was also a question which was asked last year at Stanford. I think it was Giriraj Maharaj was giving the talk, and somebody had asked a very similar question, which I believe Madhukar Prabhu was just mentioning about how to avoid, or when we go into social activities, because they will probably force us to engage into this. But something which I've recently noticed a little bit is, if you are practicing you're molding your lifestyle in such a way, or if you're practicing devotional service in a very in a manner in which it should be practiced, I think they will leave you alone, because they are afraid that you might pull them into this, rather than us being afraid that they will pull us into that. So just one comment. I thought it was slightly relevant.
You're right, Sudhi, but the problem is this. For the human, actually, let's quickly wrap it up. The human psychology is such that, if the people who drink outnumber you and you are the alone person, then you are more vulnerable, because of the simple fact, you think you can pull them to being non-drunkards, and they'll think exactly opposite. It's just a matter of time before we'll pull this guy into drinking. So I have seen that, because in my previous company, there were always these social events that were being organized where they would provide liquor, and everybody knew I wouldn't drink, and then, but my boss somehow he used to give gifts every year to his team members, and for last 2-3 years he gave me a bottle of wine. I said, he knows very well that I don't. And then later, one of the times he was saying, no, it's good, you should drink. I didn't even go and approach and sit in a bar, and I had this already effect, saying that, you should drink, it's good sometimes, wine. So the point is, you think that, they'll think that before this guy converts me into non-drunkard, I'll convert him into a drunkard, so that we are all safe here. That will be their thinking. I'm sorry, but that's the way material nature works.
I also wanted to emphasize on the vulnerability point that you brought up, Srivas Prabhu, because I also used to be exposed to having to go to parties at work where you had to drink. And at that time, I was like a total vegetarian about 10 years ago. And luckily, my manager, she was an American, but she also never used to drink at office parties. So she found out a way of, she would say, you know what, give me cranberry and soda, and that looks like red wine, So,
right.
So the pressure is there, and I used to think, well, that's a very smart thing to do. Till after some time, I realized that when you are drinking alcoholic beverages, you get them in a special kind of a glass, and when it's a virgin drink, then it's a different glass. So they know, if you have tried to bluff, the people know. And about vulnerability is that, the day that you're feeling a little bit down, like Krishna has dumped me, and then you go and meet your friends in a bar, versus you come here to the temple and meet the devotees, the end result is going to be drastically different.
Hey, my drink, it never lets me down.
Absolutely, yeah, come on, have fun, and,
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Other questions? Should we? Yes, Prashant. If it doesn't happen, then we'll have to come next. Actually, next week is 15th. So, yeah, go ahead. We'll try to complete it.
On the subject regarding this mode of ignorance, right? Verse 8, Prabhupada in his purport, he directly says, if you sleep more than 6 hours, you're under the mode of ignorance. Could you help us a little bit,
Well, no, actually,
the point behind that.
Right, it's a valid question. So that's again pretty unique to an individual. But usually an adult human being requires anywhere between 6 to 7 hours of sleep under normal conditions. So, if you are exhausted, you've been traveling, probably, 1-2 hours here and there. But you can't be sleeping like 10-12 hours on an average. Get up in the morning at 7, sleep at 12 again, get up at 4 in the afternoon, and so that sort of thing is continuous sleeping is like in the mode of ignorance.
Okay.
So then again, for example, babies, they sleep like 12, 14, 15, 18 hours a day. So they need more. The babies, when they are till 5, they sleep more. But when you become a normal average adult, then on a normal circumstances, 6 to 7 hours. That's what one of the ISKCON senior leaders have said. 6 hours is like, Prabhupada used to sleep for 3.5 hours. So for him, 6 hours was big, I guess. Because he used to rest for 3.5 hours every night, and then half an hour to 1 hour in the afternoon. That's it. 4 hours maximum every day. So when we are that is the other thing. When you are spiritually advanced, then you sleep less. And the best examples or the ideal examples were the Goswamis of Vrindavan. They would sleep like 1.5 hours to 2 hours every night. And 20 hours, 22 hours a day, they were completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. You know what was the beauty part? Sometimes they would even forget to sleep that much. The whole night would just pass discussing Krishna Katha. In the morning they would get up again back to their duties. Fresh, no. Please understand that, it's not due to lack of something, lack of house they didn't sleep. But the thing is this, again, it depends on person to person, but one should be fresh for our sadhana. It's like, you know what, I'm sleeping only for 5 hours and in the Hare Krishna, I mean, what's the point? Is that like, so just the point is you have to be balanced.
Got it.
Yeah. Yes, Chaitanya, Prabhu, and then...
Prabhu, at the end, just to summarize what I understood and check if that's right. So, the modes propose, but they don't impose. And we have our free will whether to accept the imposition of the proposition of a certain mode or not. But the free will is so insignificant because the spirit soul itself is insignificant that whatever the spirit soul associates with, the control tends to go to that mode or Krishna, whomever it is. So ultimately, though there is free will for the spirit soul, but because it is marginal energy, that free will is more or less influenced by the association.
Correct. Good point. And then the other free will we have is to surrender to Krishna or to not. When I keep always my face surrendered to Krishna or myself, then the modes, they just go away. And the best way to control the modes or to work on the modes is actually just to serve Krishna. The modes will completely stop acting upon you. And that's when the soul realizes its true glory and independence. It seems that you are so restrictive. I mean, like you are doing so many like narrow things, following rules and regulations. You are constraining. But from that constraint actually comes the greatest freedom. And your so-called enjoyment is actually binding you more and more. You are like, really binding up yourself big time. Text 14. 14 through 17, Krishna talks about 15 actually, dying. Yada satve pravriddetu pralayam yati dehabrat tadottama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to pure higher planets of great sages. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tata pralinas tamasi muda yonishu jayate. When one engages in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in the fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Now, the animal kingdom, Srila Prabhupada writes, those who die in the mode of ignorance, they take birth in the animal kingdom. So, Muda Yonishu means like foolish and ignorant, and Srila Prabhupada translated to animal kingdom. So, at least one understands one shouldn't be in mode of ignorance. People who are severely in the mode of ignorance, like, consuming alcoholic beverages, sleeping, like 10-12 hours a day and just spending the whole life like that. Again, please understand it's not incidental. It's like, once you do it, you are not in the mode. But that association will give you. Because when you attach yourself to the mode, you get happiness from that mode, from what you do. A person, if you ask a hardcore drunkard, he says, I'm so much getting joy from drinking. There are all those other things. In the morning I get up, I have a severe hangover, and then even when I drink too much, I vomit. I did see that in my college days, of course. There's so many bad effects of that, but they say there is some happiness in there. I'm feeling happy, I'm content. I'm willing to do anything for that. So when you attach to the mode, you get some happiness, and that's what drives you to get more and deeper into that mode. So, and over a lifetime, when it builds up and when you die, then the destinations are different based on what you are doing. Text 16. The result, karmana sukritasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness, but action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Text 17. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramada moho tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From the mode of goodness real knowledge develops, from the mode of passion greed develops, from the mode of ignorance develops foolishness, madness and illusion. Text 18. Urdvam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittista adho gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish planets. So here, Krishna in 18 verses describes the different modes of nature. What are the qualities? What results from the modes of nature and how they act? What happens when you die in certain modes? So it's very clearly and graphically given. After explaining about different modes, now Krishna says a little bit about, gives a broader perspective or overall view. Text 19. Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drishtanu pashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodhi gacchati. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work and these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to these modes, he attains to my spiritual nature. Text 20. Gunan etan atityatrin dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkher vimukto mritamashnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these modes, these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age and their distress and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So coming back to your question, Prashant Prabhu, is that when the spirit soul comes in contact with modes of material nature, the independence is severely restricted. And most of the activities which the modes perform are dictated most of the activities which is performed by jiva are dictated by the modes. As much as in the prison, the prisoner's whole activities are decided by the prison authorities. Yes? If you tell the prisoner, why are you running every day 4 miles? Why do you have to clean this laundry? I don't know. They are making me do it. Is the government responsible for making a prisoner do it? Or the prisoner has done something and has come to prison because of which he is forced to. So when you come into prison, then your independence is restricted and you are forced to act in ways that you may think, I'm not doing it. It's the government that's making me do it. But you chose to come here. So once you voluntarily give up the position of being servant of Krishna and come into modes, then the modes start acting. And when the modes start acting, it is the modes making you do the work. But the jiva has no relationship with modes. Jiva was never supposed to be in contact with the modes like that. But once you come into contact, the modes will make you dance left, right, center, upside down, every which way. And the jiva is like just flopping along with them. So Krishna here emphasizes the same point. When one sees actually when the jiva soul is running around, when we see this whole world, we see that modes are only acting. The jiva has no independence. Does that a little bit answer your question? Yeah. Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in like verses 14 and 15, the like after death, what the person attains based on the mode he is associated with at the time of death is mentioned. So this is like what does it exactly mean? Because when one dies in the mode of goodness means, so we also see that the next life depends on the desire and karma. So associated with a mode, that is one factor here that is being mentioned. And in the second chapter or somewhere, Krishna mentions that by the desire and karma one gets the next life.
Which verse in second chapter? Do you remember?
Yeah,
okay. 8th chapter I remember that Yantakale chamameva smaranuktakalevaram. Is that the verse you are referring to?
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. I was just trying to get clarified your question. So Krishna says, whatever state you are in, or whatever you are thinking at the time of death, then that you will be in the next life without fail. So throughout your life, if you have associated with certain modes, you will be situated in that mode when you die. And because of that result, you will get a different body. If you forget this knowledge, or this knowledge of, I am a soul, and then I have to live many lifetimes, if you think this just body is all in all, then you act in ways and means which are so harmful to you in the long run. This is one body, I need to enjoy it to the maximum. But you are not realizing in that source of enjoyment how many complicated reactions you are accruing, with the risk that you don't know which mode you are going to die, because your mind is completely going every which way, completely under the controls of nature. But if you think of Krishna at the time of death, if you are in such a fortunate position that you have performing devotional service and think of Krishna at the time of death, then you go back to Krishna, which is so fortunate. So the jiva has some free will on how to associate. So for example, a person dies of liver disease, and that has come about because of his lot of alcoholic beverage consumption. You die in the mode of ignorance, because that's what your being was. Your whole system was filled with that consciousness. And a person could die while Vedas were being recited, and he has been, reasonably strict his whole life, been in the mode of goodness, and he's going to go to higher planetary systems. A person being, for example, how many places did you hear of businessmen dying of heart attack in the middle of their work? Middle of their work or middle of their business meetings or part of life, they were there to ambition. Hey, you'll stay here. You'll get another body, you stay here. Death can come at any time. But which mode you are in, based on that you get it. Krishna also says, Antakala chimaveva swaranmukta karya. What is your state of being? Then you will get that. What is your state of being is determined by what modes a person is in. But even though we are having like an extensive discussions on the modes, when you chant Hare Krishna, you are beyond the modes at that point of time. When you are in the temple, when you are performing pure sadhana, then you are completely beyond. Your soul is in connection with Paramatma, and even though you are in this body, you have transmigrated that, and you are in a divine communion. You just don't worry about it. You feel that you have nothing to do with this. Sometimes Krishna gives you that rare, fleeting glimpses of what lies ahead if you are spending this lifetime in devotional service.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Questions? Okay, let's go further. Arjuna Vacha, page 621. We are on the text 21. Arjuna Vacha, Kairlingai Strin Gunanetan Atito Bhavati Prabhu Kim Achara Katam Chaitams Trin Gunan Ativartate. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of material nature? Text 22. Please welcome. Hare Krishna. Please take a seat. If you want to sit on the bench, you can sit on the bench. If you want to sit on the floor, you can sit. Thank you for coming. Text 22. We are on page 622 and text 22 through 25. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prakasham cha pravrittim cha moham eva cha pandava na dveshti sampravrittani na nivrittani kankshati udasina vad asino gunairyo va vichalyate guna vartante ityevam yo vartishtati nengate samadukha sukha swastha samaloshtamsha kanchana tulya priya priyo dhiras tulya nindatma samstutihi manapamanayo tulyas tulyo mitrari pakshayo sarvaramba parityagi gunatita sa uchyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment and delusion when they are present or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the three modes of material nature. So, what are the three questions which Arjuna asks? Okay.
By which symptom is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature?
Yeah, as Malini said, symptoms, behavior and the method to transcend the modes of material nature. So the verses 22 through 25 give that. Please understand that verse number 22 gives the symptoms and verse number 23 to 25 gives the behavior. We'll discuss what is the difference between symptom and behavior, though it may seem to be the same. So if you see the translation on page 623, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, and who is situated in self and regards happiness and distress alike. So here, up till this point, they are the symptoms. And if you see the remaining portions, who looks upon with a lump of earth, a stone, a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal to friends, who is equal to enemies, who is equal to distress, who is equal to happiness. If you see the first qualities, the symptoms are internal. They are the state of consciousness which are within. But the other qualities, which are the behavior, they are perceived by somebody who is outside. For example, a person who is self-realized or has transcended the modes of material nature, he'll treat, a friend comes to him, he'll treat the same way, an enemy comes to him, he'll treat the same way. So others can perceive the greatness of that person by his behavior. But whereas the other things, they are internal. Nobody can perceive that. For example, he who does not hate illumination or attachment, that internally he is doing it. Nobody can perceive. So first two verses talks of symptoms, the next two verses talks of behavior. And Krishna answers first two questions in these three verses. What are the symptoms and what are the behavior? In the next few verses, Krishna talks about how to overcome. Text 26 answers the question by Arjuna, how to overcome the modes of material nature. Text 26 on page 624. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhoyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Text 27. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So Krishna here in these two verses talks about how to overcome the modes of material nature. He says that those who engage in my bhakti or devotional service, words are avyabhicharini bhakti, means undeviated, with no other purpose or with no other object of worship except Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, of course, explains in the purport, just Krishna doesn't mean Krishna, but also any of the Vishnu forms. One who undeviatingly worships Krishna, then one transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the platform of Brahman. Now, there can be a little problem here. Because we said by unflinching devotional service, we get to know the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. But why does Krishna say you come to Brahman? So by doing bhakti you get Brahman? What is the answer? That's one good answer, yes. Nice. You are already at the level of Brahman. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that by performing unlimited or unmotivated, unflinching devotional service, you come to the level or equal in spiritual level to Krishna. Come to the same understanding that Krishna is spirit, I am spirit. And now because we are situated on the spiritual platform, I can render devotional service to Krishna. So there are two hidden meanings to this verse, which is this, that under this conditioned state, pure devotional service may not be that easy or possible. So there is always this struggle. Therefore devotees, we struggle, at least I struggle with sadhana, because I haven't come to the Brahman realization yet. But I have this faith that one day I'll be there. Right? And the other aspect is, by serving Krishna in an unflinching way, the Brahman realization is already there. You will not only get Bhagavan, but Brahman realization is already included in that. Don't even worry, just do unflinching bhakti to me, you will come to Brahman realization and then you will go to prema from there. Don't worry. Everything is included. So those are the two meanings. And Krishna says later and then just to add to that, he says you will come to the Brahman realization. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhoyaya kalpate. You come to that platform, and next verse he says, and I am the basis of that Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Aham, that basis or the foundation of Brahman is me. So you'll not only understand Brahman, but you'll come to me after that. Just to add to that emphasis, Krishna gives that. So this concludes this chapter where we discuss at length the modes of material nature, how to overcome them, what the qualities are. And I thank Malini for giving a nice overview. And next week we'll have an overview of the 15th chapter for the first 15 or 20 minutes by our Sankirtan co-leader, Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu. And then he'll give the overview for 15-20 minutes, and then then I'll continue. Of course, you think that I'm getting boring, and and then he can always continue to give for 2 hours or so. So the exam, I was thinking of immediately the weekend after Nrsingadev's appearance. Is that okay? No? Yes? Okay, after. So we'll June 1st or something like that. May 23rd is the Nrsingadev's appearance. So it will be June 2nd or 3rd or something like that. Midterm. But July 20... But. So if you have it in June, first week, July 20th is the final exam and we are not going to change the date for that. Is that okay? Or you want to push it like May 7th, 8th, 9th? Because it will be like 2-3 weeks from now. It will be too much of stress. After that. Then that will give impetus because... Okay then, I'll send out the dates and then we'll have it in the temple hall for a change. We have enough space. We'll get the tables and... Yeah, we'll get the thing, or we can have it under the trees or whatever. Other questions, other comments, other any concerns? Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu.
For the final exam, those are going to India during that time, we can take...
Yeah, that's a perpetual thing that happens. We'll work on it. It's no worries.
Prabhuji, in the behavioral thing, right, you are mentioning in 26th, I believe. So it reminds that Lord Ramchandra, when he went to Kaikeyi's room, he went in like thinking that he'll become king, right? So they'll coordinate like next day as a king. But he came to know that he went to go to forest. And he came, as he went, he came like that in the back. He didn't, because is right. Supreme Personality of Godhead, right. So that reminds this past time.
He just saw this, it's same, it doesn't matter, staying in, wonderful, thank you. Beautiful example.
I have one question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Small. Actually, this verse says like equally we should be situated in all the situations, but it's so tough. We react to the situations, right? We react badly, we react goodly. If someone praises, we become so happy. If someone blasphemes us, we react immediately. So, how to overcome this? And at least in my case, I react very badly. So, how to overcome this?
One thing I learned is that in ISKCON, anybody asks any question, you can always say, please chant Hare Krishna, it will be okay. and that answer is not exaggeration or a... But the point is, our sadhana should be good. And the second thing is, if we take a moment to see, maybe there is a plan of God. Maybe what has happened is something that the reason why you are angry is because you think that person who blasphemed me is responsible for my thing. But when you take it inward, saying that I am responsible, he is just giving me my due. He won't be angry. And it's a fact. If he is also being pressured by the Lord to act by the modes of nature, and he is not really blaspheming me, that will give a little bit, a pause. He is also under influence of modes of material nature, I am also there. So why blame him? And if you want to go, you can read Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 17th and 18th chapter. Maharaj Parikshit asks Dharma, like, why are you sad? Who caused you this situation? Why you are so sad? And the answers given by Dharma in the form of bull are beautiful. And they are real eye-opener to everybody. Why me? Why am I the victim? Why should everything that's bad is happening to me? You'll read that, you'll realize, it doesn't happen without a plan.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Go back for 1.1.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Prashant Prabhu.
So
yeah, we'll go. That's the last question. Yeah.
So in chapter 4, right, when we read the transcendental knowledge, Krishna already says that, so he quotes Janma Karma Chame Divyam, right? He says, just knowing my pastimes will come back to me. What is he trying to tell in this verse, the 26th verse that we just read, right? It's a different version looks like, but what is the So in chapter 4 he tells that, right? Just knowing my pastimes will come back to me. You won't. Now in this verse he's saying, he's giving like specific details or something like that, right? What is the point? I'm just trying to tie together things.
Okay, fair enough. The 4th chapter is titled Jnana Yoga, which is knowledge. So Krishna says that knowledge of me helps you relieve. I mean, if you know my birth and activities, but the word is tattvataha, in truth. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvataha, means in truth. Not just I read Krishna book once and then you know what? Yes, I'm going back to Godhead. It has helped, no doubt. Those impressions will remain, but in truth, to be situated in his pastimes. And if you know that from a spiritual master properly and be absorbed and be situated in that pastimes, then you will go back. But in this chapter, what he is saying is that by rendering devotional service, you transcend the modes of material nature. Either there are 2 ways of going back. One is that you can be completely absorbed in Krishna and your mind is totally absorbed in Krishna, you will go back to Krishna for sure. Or when you worship Krishna in an undeviated way, you transcend the modes of material nature. They are almost happening simultaneously. It's not that there are 2 ways like going.
Okay. Helps. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll send out the date for the exam, and the exam will be for the 5 chapters, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. Because 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th is a big chapter. So that's why we said 5 first and then remaining 4 later. And then the verses also please memorize up to the 14th chapter. You don't have to memorize all the verses. And the other point is we cover up till the 14th in this particular midterm, and there will not be anything more from this particular set of chapters next. In the final exam it will be for the other thing. So at least 14th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 5 chapters, first 5 chapters. And that way it's easier, because I had quite few things, it's too much to memorize, too much to remember. So we are breaking it up. Shraddha Mataji will be like, you know what, you guys are having it easy. Okay, Shraddha Mataji is, she'll tell about fees, and please, we all encourage you to pay after June 9th.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to say that, 10th and 11th, you were not there, you were in Mayapur, right? When we had. Usually by your class we get an indication of the questions, so I'm thinking, those 2 chapters you didn't teach us. So we have we know of course because Shukeshwari Mataji and Govinda Das, they told us everything. But still, I look for clues when you talk, what will be the questions, so we have missed that. Okay, so let me revisit those chapters, and probably in the next class we'll have some sort of treasure hunt.
Now for this one I have to say something.
Yeah.
I was saying Shyamlangi Mataji's question beats the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. This is such an open, blatant question, what are you asking in the exam?
You can convert all those 6 questions. What is the best marks that we can get in this exam? Please tell us the question. Yeah. Okay, so you want to tell about the fees, and then we have some...
We have general consensus, right? They will pay after June, $100. No, I just wanted to say thank you for those who have given the fees, and the fees for this semester is $62.50. You can make the check out to ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and you can hand it over to me or to Bharani Mataji. And in my email, I've also sent out the address in case you are not local and you're listening online. Then you can send it to Bharani Mataji's home address, and she takes care of that. And that's it. Yeah. Trying to. And
Mataji, so you're keeping track, right? She's telling you how many. How should we send an email saying that I already paid versus for your track?
No, we have a spreadsheet that we maintain.
Good.
Bharani and I.
As long as you're okay. Other questions, comments? Yeah, because one of the devotees from Sacramento, Aditi Mataji had asked when is the exam, so I haven't decided yet. I just wanted to raise it in the class. So it will be immediately after Narsinghadev, the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Shall we do it on Sunday? Sunday morning? Is that okay? Because Sunday morning there is usually temple hall is also free. And yeah, we can do that too. Yeah. Then you can attend the Sunday feast and the Sunday feast lecture. Other questions, comments, concerns? No, actually we will be reading, of course, I mean, though we have the, the schedule in the calendar, you read this from this time to this time. I don't know how many devotees actually follow that. I'm assuming everybody reads for exam. So next week we'll have the 15th chapter in the temple hall. We'll discuss 15th chapter. We'll continue the calendar as planned. Is that okay? All right. Thank you. So, Deepak Prabhu, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Srivas Prabhu. I wish I had attended the full class, but could not attend it today. I'd like to welcome Prashad. He is a disciple of Hari Prasad Chaurasia and a very well-known figure he's a flute maestro of Bay Area. And today is his wife's birthday. And would like to welcome both of them to our new site in Mountain View. Please welcome both of them in our traditional style. You want to say? So do you want him to perform here? Okay, so we'll set up something. Actually, there's a broadcast going on, so let others also hear. Yeah?
बहुत अच्छे हैं, because of the wooden flooring and all.
Start?
अरे आपको क्लासेस वगैरह है ना आपकी 4:30?
I don't know how to play an all-out. I don't even know the rules. I just know it. I started with an all-out.
ऑफर की हुई है। Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. आज मेरी बीवी का जन्मदिन है और हमने इनको फ़ोन किया कि हम आके यहाँ दर्शन कर सकते, तो ये सब हो गया। अच्छी बात है। Thank you.
I'll just give a small introduction from Prashad. I was impressed in his website. It's written, Bansuri is as simple as it gets, a hollow bamboo, few holes burnt in it, and that's it. No other musical instrument I know of is as simple and as natural as Bansuri. It needs no tuning, no elaborate care. And yet, when a novice lifts it to play, it refuses to budge in. It easily takes months to get good, clean sound out of the Bansuri. Actually, I have tested it. I was learning Bansuri for 3-4 months under Prashad, and it's very difficult. It looks simple as they were playing, but to get even a sound, it takes a certain angle.
आप लोगों ने देखी है कि नहीं? I don't know whether you've seen flute, but as you can see, it's just one piece of bamboo. Something special about this is normally when you see bamboo, they have notes in between, right? So this particular variety of bamboo, which is normally grown only in certain parts of India, in Pilibhit or Assam, some areas, there is no node in the entire length of this bamboo, and it's remarkably not only straight but also fairly thin. So all that is there in this, other than the bamboo, is a small piece of cork here to block airflow from one side, and that's it. And when they make the holes, they actually burn them down. You can't drill them because the bamboo will just rip apart. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's literally true what he's reading out. There's no exaggeration.
And one thing is, my guru often jokes, Bansuri is God's instrument, and the God allows only the true devotee to be able to play it. So, and Bansuri is very dear to Krishna. We see Krishna always with a flute.
If you go and learn any other instrument, on the first class itself, you'll make some sound out of it, whether it's tabla or a harmonium or a sitar or name any other instrument, except for some of the exotic blow instruments like maybe shahnai. This instrument takes almost a month to get at least the clean sound like this. This type of a sound, it will take a month. So it requires a lot of patience. Looks easy.
Thank you so much, Prashad, again for coming and blessing us, and we sincerely thank you for that, and expect we'll have more and more association with you and family.
I really hope so.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday to you. Thank you so much. Now our guest speaker have arrived, and we'd like to move to our next program. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I just have a small announcement for parents who have got small kids, that if they want to go to the other part of the temple, please don't use the door behind the speaker, because it's all coming up on the camera. I'm seeing kids running over there. So just make sure that if somebody has to go to that part, we go out of this door and then walk across there and then enter towards that side where the kids' school is. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Haribo. जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन भगवान की जय। श्री महाप्रभु की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नृसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I would like to begin by expressing my immense gratitude to the wonderful devotional community serving our ISKCON Center in San Jose. And especially, I would like to thank the temple management and our temple president, the inspirational force behind such a wonderful community, His Grace Bhakti Prabhu, that with his kind blessings we have this opportunity to be amongst all of you and make a presentation on the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. So we will begin by reading from the Srimad Bhagavad-gita, the translation and purports of which have been given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the 6th chapter from Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is. The chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga, text number 7. There are various points of interest in this verse. Just like when we go for some tour, visit place that has been recommended to us, then we find if it is a place that generates interest, then we find a description given specifically with pointers as to what can we find as interesting here, the points of interest. So similarly, today we are going to visit the 7th verse of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. And there are various points of interest here. Fortunately for me, in the limited time that we have, I should be able to discuss only a couple of them. And fortunately for all of you also, that's as long as you're tolerating me. So this verse is as follows. Jitatmanah prashantasya Paramatma samahitaha Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu Tatha manapamanayoha. The translation is as follows. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. We'll go through the purport right now. It's just maybe 16 or 17 lines in this book. So the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, is as follows. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that? Who is our Supreme Personality of Godhead? Krishna, yes. Madan Mohan, as is known as here. Krishna. And where is Krishna? According to this verse, according to the purport, Prabhupada writes, who, that is Krishna, is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, and what is the external illusory energy generally known as? Maya, and more specifically, Mahamaya. For those of us who are not used to such words, they sound foreign to our ears. Maha means huge. I come from India. This word is very common in India. Well, whether in the context in which it is expressed, that could have varied emotions as a reaction. Like Mahasankat. Sankat means problems. Mahasankat means severe problems. Someone is like Mahasankat. But there is Mahabali. There is a situation which is really problematic, they say Mahasankat. Then there is Mahabali. Bali means one who has bala, prowess, strength. Powerful person is Bali. Mahabali is a really strong person. Like Hanuman is Mahabali. Yes? Then there's another word which many of us who have been coming to ISKCON for a long time are familiar with. It is Mahaprasad. That does strike a chord, doesn't it? And I don't need to explain that. Sometimes we just go for the short form, Maha. If there's this devotee who is in charge of prasad, especially that which comes off the altar, then we go to this devotee, Prabhu, Mataji, can I have some Maha? So we are not asking for Mahasankat. We are not asking for that which is a big problem. We are asking for the Mahaprasad. Great blessings. Prasad means blessings. So Krishna offers his blessings in the form of that, the food that has been offered to him. He returns it back with his blessings. So yes, there is Mahamaya. What does she do? When one is misled by Mahamaya, specifically when the mind is misled by Mahamaya, what happens? One becomes entangled. Oh my God. Just feel that word, entangled. I don't know about, I know that not many of you will be experiencing this, but like every week, my shikha gets entangled. And I have this huge shikha, this tuft of hair. And one of the ideas of being in the ashram that I am, it is the renounced order known as the Brahmachari ashram. Student is supposed to be in the renounced order, but student as yet. One of the ideas of being in this Brahmachari ashram is that one must be careless. One must care less about material things. And especially if you have hair. So then we shave off our hair except leave a tuft behind. But then we are very careful of how the tuft looks. but we are very careless about how to take care of it. Yes? Does that make sense? We are very careful about how long it should be, how big it should be, but we really don't have sufficient hair care, so to speak. So it gets dry and really entangled in itself. And the only option is then to chop it off. Cut it wherever it's entangled. So whenever I read this, I remember my shikha which is entangled. It's not a good experience to have hair that's always, like entangled, all the strands are entangled like that. Yeah. Really can't separate all the knots once again. So entanglement. Here this word is being used. One becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. A conclusion that is, therefore, it begins with therefore it's concluding, there's a conclusion. But it's like a really sharp turn, a sharp turn. You feel that jarring motion, when you're driving the car and you take this really sharp curve and everyone's swaying in the opposite direction, like really trying to hold on. Today when we landed, I flew in from Los Angeles and our pilot was really good, the captain. But I guess the airstrip was really small. I'm not really sure what. So there was this sharp brakes put on and we were all hanging on, not wanting to hit ourselves or slide down, our seats for a couple of seconds, not much. It wasn't really life-threatening. Like that. So here we find therefore, where does this therefore come from? Right now we are just with the mind which is entangled. What is therefore? What is the conclusion about it? Oh, the yoga system. So it has already been discussed previously, and hence we find this conclusive statement here, therefore. So we would encourage all of you to go back and study the previous verses. And then this conclusion becomes a little more easier to handle. It's no longer very jarring. The mind understands. So as soon as one's mind is controlled, so there is a process by which the mind has to be controlled. That is known as yoga. Through one of the yoga systems, so there are many yoga systems, one must be considered to have already reached the destination. So there is a destination and one has already reached it. How does it seem that sometimes, we are driving and stop at a place and people are welcoming us. You've reached the destination. And we ask them, what is the destination? We are not even aware of it. So, here it is explained that if one simply follows the yoga system, if one is aware of the process, and by following the process, one controls the mind, then one has already reached the destination. One can feel relieved. What? I'm already there. Such a relief. So, that's a benefit. Then, further on, one has to abide by superior dictation. And another statement that is out of the blue. One has to abide by superior dictation. But wait, we may find more about what this statement means further on. Yes, there it is. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, one has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Supreme or the Supersoul or the Paramatma. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness. And who is that? Who is in Krishna consciousness right here? The mind, yes. But in this audience, do we know anyone who is in Krishna consciousness? Everyone is in Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol. This is our special prize for today. Yes? Because this transcendental position, what transcendental position? The destination. It's reached. That transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness. That's all of you. Bright-faced devotees. Yes? The devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. Now, how does it feel? Being in Krishna consciousness makes us already qualified to be in a transcendental position where one is naturally free from the dualities of this material world. You know, sometimes, how is it called in America? SOPs? S-O-P-S? Is that what? It's offered certain benefits. Fringe benefits are offered. SOPs? SOPs? So this is like a SOP. A big benefit. Freedom from the dualities of the material world. And the final statement of this purport is, this state is practical samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. But it makes us one think that there could be something as impractical samadhi too. Samadhi means, adhi, this word means under, being under something. Adhi. It's a Sanskrit word. This is a combination of two words, samadhi. Sama, adhik, adhi. Sama plus adhi. Sama generally means totality, complete. That's sama in Sanskrit. The word is sama, Sanskrit. Adhi means under. So samadhi means fully sheltered. Under complete shelter. So there is practical samadhi, and what this could imply is also impractical samadhi. Right? Let me give you an example. Have you heard about the man who was hanging it was dense darkness of the night, and he fell into this deep gorge, or he was falling into this deep gorge, this deep valley, or a ditch, really deep ditch, high up in the mountains, couldn't see anything around, therefore with flailing hands, wanting to hang on to something, he found an object to hang on, maybe a vine, maybe a creeper, something like that. And he was hanging on for dear life. And what does one do when one is hanging on for dear life and there is no help or hope? Pray, yes. That's another natural function in a situation like this. There are no atheists in the foxholes, as they say. Yeah? So he started praying, if there is a God. No, he didn't say if. This was not a situation where you are doubtful. My dear Lord, God up above, please save me. And the Lord did answer back. And many of you know the answer, right? You said, you want help? This is help right here. Let go of the branch that you're hanging on to. Now that's scary. You hear a voice out of nowhere in the dense darkness and you're hanging on for dear life onto a branch. And this voice, booming voice says, let go. Come on. So for a moment there was intense silence. And then he looks up and he says, is there someone else up there that I can ask for help? Someone else, So sometimes to our material mind, things appear impractical. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, being so generous, and out of his compassion wanting to inspire us, he says, this state is practical samadhi. There's nothing impractical about it. We need not ask for someone else above there. This is it. Practical samadhi. All right. So the point that I want to cover from the verse itself is Jitat Manaha. Now if we go back to our verse, for those of us who have the Bhagavad-gita with us as it is, then in the word for word meaning, we can see what it means. Jita plus Atmanaha. The meaning is of one who has conquered his or her mind. So we'll discuss a little bit on this aspect of conquering over the mind. When we hear the word conquer, today when we have historical facts and references at our fingertips, this word seems to be very dictatorial. It appears to be very harsh. Conquer. It seems to bring to the mind an idea of victory and defeat. And defeat brings so many other impressions because of the information that we have about what happens when there is defeat. So, being our vision or our mental eyes which have been colored, and we are not saying that it is wrong or right, we are just saying that because it has been colored over by so much information that we have, the word conquer really may seem to be a bit harsh. However, there is another meaning of conquer that was very well understood and is still very well understood. But generally, we miss it. And that is when the word conquer is used in relationship with the emotion of love. Love conquers all. And when we understand the word love, we do not have any feelings of harshness with this word. So here, when the verse, specifically in the 6th chapter, is speaking about conquering the mind, it means that one has to make the mind one's friend. The entire process not the process, but the idea, the principle of wanting to make the mind a friend and making the mind of a friend is explained 2 verses back. In the 5th verse, this has been explained. Please read it at your leisure. An application of that principle, the theory is given in verse number 5 of this chapter, and the application of this theory or experimental knowledge, that which we can apply, applied knowledge, is given in verse number 6. Please find out a time to go through these 2 verses, as I mentioned before, at your leisure. Now, verse number 7 has already taken in context, or has taken into context, the previous 2 verses. And the understanding of making the mind one's friend allows us to conquer over the mind which is entangled in material affairs. I want to tell you a story. Yeah, can someone be my time man, timekeeper, please? And show me the red flag whenever it is necessary. Great. Thank you. So, the pink would be better before, and then the red one. Okay? Thank you so much. So, as I said, I come from India. And therefore, fortunately or unfortunately for all of us, I have many stories from there, from that land. It's just a cultural thing, growing up there. I grew up eating chapatis. I grew up eating rajma. I grew up eating maa ki dal. I grew up eating misal pav. Now these are certain items, preparations from India. But now I know what is pizzas, I know what's pasta, I know what's Mexican, continental, tortillas, like that. But then whenever I am speaking, I have more realizations about eating chapatis and rotis than tortillas. So please forgive me, for I am going to narrate a story from India. India is a beautiful land. The beautiful snow-clad mountains to the north, who to some extent stop the north wind blowing in from the North Pole and give relief to the entire tract of land that has taken shelter under it towards the south. Then there is the east-west running middle ranges known as the Vindhya mountains, and they further prevent whatever north wind escapes the Himalayan mountains, ice-clad mountains, and protect further down all the regions, the tracts of land that are in the south. And thus, this tract of land has a very moderate climate generally. And we owe it all to the Himalayan mountains. They stand very tall and very compassionately face the brunt of the winds blowing in from the north. So practically India is a country of multiple villages and a huge population therein. And because, as I said, the climatic conditions are very favorable, people generally till the previous century were happy staying where they are. So this is a story from 2 centuries back, when villages were unknown. You did not have Google, you did not have maps, Google Maps specifically, or the GPS. So many villages are practically unknown, except, let's say, within a radius of 20 to 40, max 60 miles. So this is a story from one of such remote villages of India. As I said, the country of India is protected in the north by the Himalayan ranges, but then this middle range, known as the Vindhya Mountains, divides this country into the north and the south, geographically. And culturally also there is some differences. In a humorous way, you could say, those to the north are cold and those to the south are warm. But I'm not saying in terms of dealings, but they feel more cold in the north, and South India is blistering heat, really. So North India, because of the weather conditions, generally people are very rustic. They're very outgoing, they're very, happy. They show their happiness, but really they have to struggle hard against the weather conditions, so they are very rustic. The hillbilly types, like that. So, this village, quiet village, everyone going about their occupational duties. One old man who has a family of 3 sons, and the sons are married, so the 3 daughters-in-law too, but no grandchildren as yet. His wife had passed on, so he had just had his sons and their wives as his family. Somehow the thought entered his mind, I have to visit the city at least once in my life. So he informed his family, we are going to the city. Now those were the days where travel to the city could take anywhere between 2 to 5 days. Because if you were well-to-do, then you had horses or elephants. And if you did not have sufficient means, then you had bullocks and bullock carts. So they had bullock carts. And the travel to the city was going to take most of 3 days. So they gathered all the essentials that they would need during the journey, and they set off. The first day of travel started off with a lot of excitement. But then as the day, it wore on, turned towards evening, they were really tired. The old man realized, I need to take shelter somewhere. My family needs shelter. As I said, these are the days where you cannot find, on your iPad, you find out what are the hotels available and make pre-book your stay. They found themselves on the outskirts of a village, and the old man found this really expansive banyan tree. Branches outreaching like practically hundreds of meters. Really expansive banyan tree. And he said, tonight we are going to seek shelter under this tree. Do you know what village folk do when they do not have their regular routine that they're used to? They waste time gossiping. And no one likes to gossip, especially the elders of the village. They don't like the younger generation simply wasting their time gossiping. So the old man, he wanted to keep them engaged. But what engagement would they find on the outskirts of an unknown village under this banyan tree? But he was intelligent, so he thought of something. He called his eldest son and he said, we have to think about dinner. You better go into the village, find the grocers, and get the necessary grocery items that we need. Off went the son. He called his second son. And he said, your brother's gone off to the grocers, but then we are going to need oil for cooking. So you better go to the oil man, the one who extracts oil. Villages generally have these separate arrangements. There's no Walmart where you find everything, just down certain aisles like that. So he went to the oil refinery, the village refinery, to get oil. The third son was told to find the milkman and get some milk that would be needed for dinner. So off went the three sons on these different errands. Now the ladies were left behind and they also needed engagement. So the old man, he called for his eldest daughter-in-law and he told her, well, your husband is out getting groceries. Obviously, we are going to need vessels to cook these, to cook in. So why don't you go into the village and find out appropriate vessels that we can use? Then he told his second daughter-in-law, we need firewood to light a fire, to make a stove and do the cooking. So why don't you go into the forest and get some firewood? He called his youngest daughter-in-law and he said, well, we are going to need water for cooking, so why don't you go and fill up some water and bring it back? So off go all the three daughters-in-law. Is it daughters-in-law or daughter-in-laws? Daughters-in-law? Thank you. All right. This is just to keep me awake. So, everyone's off. But then the old man needs some engagement. So being from the village, he has all this jute fibers with him. So takes out these jute fibers, threads, and starts making a rope out of it. Now please don't look so very, amazed. How does one make a rope out of jute fibers? Even I don't know. But there's a technique that the villagemen know. They grow jute, they have the fibers, dried up jute plants, and they can make strong ropes out of it. Sometimes they use coconut coils for it too. Anyways, so he was making this rope. Unknown to him, this banyan tree was the home of a genie. Wow, now I see everyone really lift up their heads. A genie in India is known as a yaksha. One of the species of genies are known as yakshas. Yaksha, yaksha. Now yakshas, their function is that they are the guardians of buried wealth. Sometimes people, they didn't have banks or they didn't trust banks in those days, so whatever wealth they had, they would bury in their backyard or in their fields to safeguard it. Maybe in the forest, like that. And genies are these ethereal beings that have been designated to guard over such buried wealth wherever it is. According to the universal settings, that is how they act. Sometimes Windows has default settings and you're not aware of it. So like that, the universe has default settings and we may not be aware of it. So genies are a part of those default settings in the universe, are the yaksha genies. So this yaksha was, obviously there was some buried wealth around, so therefore his home was this banyan tree. See, he was observing everything that was taking place and it very much intrigued him. But what really intrigued him is that everyone has gone about on certain errands that is going to be helpful to make dinner. But why is the old man making a rope? What does that have to do with dinner? Why is this old man making a rope? So this genie is generally, because of this very species that they are in, they are very fierce looking, ferocious looking. However, they don't generally harm anyone. This yaksha had another special quality. He was a yaksha with a very soft heart and a very curious mind. Curiosity had the better of his intelligence. He came down and made himself visible to the old man. As I said, this is a rustic old man who has been through the different weather conditions. So he realized there's a genie here. Scary. But then, being an old man from the village, he appeared externally to be very stoic, unaffected internally. He was shivering in his shoes. What is the genie going to do now? What is the yaksha going to do now? So the yaksha, soft-hearted as he was, came up to the old man and said, I saw everything. I was observing everything. What I don't get is, why are you making a rope? And the old man said, I'm making a rope because I'm going to use it to tie you up. Now you have to be from North India to understand why he would say like that. Now the yaksha became really scared because in his entire lifetime and his education, no one had ever told him how to react to a statement where someone tells him, I'm going to tie you up. No one ever tells a yaksha like that. It's not a thing that you do with yakshas. So he was really concerned. Why are you going to tie me up? He said, I'm going to tie you up. That's why I'm making this rope. He said, please don't tie me up. I request you. In return, I'll give you lots of wealth. There's hidden wealth here. I'll give you lots of wealth. And he ran, dug up the wealth, brought it to him. It was huge wealth. The old man said, all right, I won't tie you up. It's okay. The yaksha was very happy. He ran back to the top of the tree and took shelter in his house there. Meanwhile, the sons and the daughters-in-law, they come back and they say, we're ready to make dinner. And he said, what dinner? Let's go back home. They said, what home? We are going to the city. He said, no city. We already have so much wealth. Who wants to see the city anymore? Let's go back. He goes back to his village. Now he's really wealthy. He has a BMW standing in front of his car. His sons have like Google Eye, all those gadgets. So everyone is curious. And villages, 2 centuries back, even in the previous century, anyone, they didn't have anything to hide from others. There's so much resources available, there was no necessity to hide things. So his neighbor asked him, where did you get all of this from? He told him the whole story. The next day the neighbor told his family, we are going to the city. Now believe it or not, he too had 3 sons and 3 daughters-in-law. They packed up everything and they left for the city. Well, the neighbor had borrowed the GPS from his friend. He had already put in the address so that he doesn't miss the tree. And you know what? He reached the tree right at dusk. The same banyan tree. He told his eldest son, why don't you go into the village to the grocers and get some groceries? And he said, why should I go? Why don't you go, old man? Couldn't say anything. So he told his second son, well, wouldn't you want to go to the milkman and get some milk? And he said, why are you always asking me? Why don't you tell the others? I'm not going. Told the third son, he refused. He asked his daughters-in-law to do, and they went about doing their own. No one was following his instructions. They didn't care for him. So everyone was busy doing whatever they were doing. They had the iPhones and they were chatting on it. So anyways, someone was chatting, someone was playing a game. So everyone is into their own thing. Anyways, what could the old man do? So he took out his jute fibers and started making a rope. And the genie obviously was interested. Everyone is playing on their iPhones. I mean, why is this old man making a rope? So he comes down again and he asks the old man, I don't understand. Why are you making a rope? I am making this rope to tie you up unless and until you give me all your wealth. And then I won't tie you up. And the Yaksha simply laughed. And he said, sir, first you try and tie up your family. And then I'll believe that you may be able to tie me up. He laughed and he went back to the top of the tree. Similarly, this is a very instructive story. I'm sorry for the word similarly. But this is a very instructive story. Just as in the story, all of us have a huge hidden wealth waiting for us. We are like travelers on a journey. We are living in our own villages of material desires, and then we decide, let's go to the city. There must be something more than this. And we are going to meet the genie. The genie is going to introduce us to our wealth, Krishna consciousness. But then there is an important factor that has to be considered. The mind and its 5 senses are like our family. And if we have no idea how to tie them up with our instructions, then all that is going to happen is this world will laugh at us, at our attempts to try and find our wealth of Krishna consciousness. Simply laugh. And we are going to be left empty-handed. Undertake a huge journey, and neither we are going to reach the city, because we are never wanting to go to the city, right? We wanted the genie to give us the wealth. And neither do we have anything to bring back to our village, because we haven't used up our valuable time in trying to train up our family. As mentioned in this verse, we may not have put in sufficient efforts and time in trying to remove the mind from the entanglement in materialistic activities. The hope is there. What is the hope? One of the yoga systems, any one of the yoga systems works. And Bhakti Yoga is a yoga system. And Krishna consciousness is the most wonderful representative or form of Bhakti Yoga available today, in today's times. Chanting of Krishna's holy names. However, what is definitely needed is find out a way in our practice of Krishna consciousness to control the mind and senses, to make the mind a friend and conquer over it. Now I think that is bringing me to a very close situation with my time to stop. Can someone tell me how much grace time I have? Because I didn't see the pink flag go up. Okay, so now this is going to be real fast. I'm going to be talking like so fast that you won't even understand what I'm speaking. No, I'm not going to do that. It's not possible. I didn't find the words even to go fast enough. So anyways, Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentions something very, very, very catchy. He says the mind has to follow superior dictation. There was once this ISKCON temple here was organizing a festival, and everyone was so busy participating in the festival, doing services, that one of the devotees, they needed some hard cash. They needed to pay off someone in cash. So they approached the finance manager of the temple. He was so busy in doing something else. He said, why don't you just walk into my office, the safe is there, open it up and take whatever you need. So the devotee walks right into the office. The safe's right there. However, it has a combination that unlocks it. And our devotee doesn't know the combination. Well, sometimes we become so confident by a practice of Krishna consciousness, we think the Paramatma is going to inspire us. So this devotee was inspired by his understanding of Paramatma inspiration. So he went about thinking, all right, what is the president's birthday? Click, click, click. It didn't unlock. The combination didn't work. What is Prabhupada's birthday? Still didn't work. What's my birthday? Nothing worked. He was really frustrated. And just at that moment, another devotee was passing by the office and he saw his frustration and he was wondering, what is he doing? So he walks in and he says, may I help you? And the devotee is shocked because he was so engrossed in so many birthdays. He was shocked. Oh, I'm sorry. I needed money and the finance manager has authorized me to take it from the safe. But I don't know the combination. He says, oh, you don't know the combination? Don't worry. And this devotee very serenely, brings his palms together, closes his eyes, then looks upwards. There's an inspiration. He dials certain numbers, sets dial clockwise, anti-clockwise. Click. Boom. The safe opens. Now our devotee is impressed. He says, wow, Prabhu, you are so much inspired by the Paramatma. You are so faithful. You are so Krishna conscious and all that. And he says, yes. Well, you take the money and let's close the safe. Close the safe. Then our devotee realized, oh, I'm short of cash. I didn't withdraw sufficient cash. So he says, let me try this. Click, 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 click. It didn't work. He really felt ashamed and he went back to our Prabhu and said, I'm so sorry, can you help me again? And our Prabhu again goes. Turns it this way, that way. Boom, it opens up again. Prabhu, you are so Krishna conscious, you are amazing, you have such mystic abilities. And he says, yes, you know why? Because one must follow superior dictation, as Prabhupada said. If you carefully stand where I am and look up, the combination's on the roof. So one has to follow superior dictation. The mind has to follow superior dictation. One just has to know where to stand and where to look. And that's Krishna consciousness. the practice that we are doing of chanting, worshipping the deities, coming for class, associating, following the principles, all of that is meant for us to properly orient ourselves where to stand and seek superior help. It's there, the combination's there. And one day we'll find it. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, if there are any questions, any comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for coming here and giving a nice class on this topic. Prabhuji, you explained the significance of controlling the mind. Some practical tips on how to do it.
First of all, thank you for appreciating the class. If it's all right, I would really like to take this opportunity, because maybe it's a full house right now, and therefore I would like to take this opportunity to seek blessings of senior devotees, especially if they are disciples of Srila Prabhupada in this audience, and ask for their blessings and their mercy. And yes, now we'll come back to the question. Practical tips? Chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Well, for this process of chanting Hare Krishna, there's a wonderful lubricant that allows this process to work without wearing out our machine parts, wearing out our consciousness, our tongue, like that. The lubricant is the mood of, or the understanding that one is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, and we need association of like-minded people and guidance from a proper compassionate representative of Krishna. So if we have good association and we are fortunate to have wonderful guidance of a compassionate and sufficiently realized representative of Krishna, that is a wonderful lubricant. Allows us to chant Hare Krishna in a way that feels pleasurable, or we become attracted to the chanting process. Is that all right?
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Is that practical?
Yes, Prabhuji. Association, chanting, and that is very practical. But
right. Okay. Thank you so much. If it's okay, the word guidance would mean coming, hearing, giving our ears an opportunity to surrender to oral reception, and a consciousness along with it. Guidance also allows us an opportunity to understand how much we have received and feel grateful. Guidance also includes an inspirational force to want to go beyond, a little beyond our comfort zone. And guidance also allows us to feel blessed by the quality of being humble. So those four things, they like spice up the process of being guided. All right. Yes, thank you so much. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Prabhuji, I didn't really understand the lesson taught by this story and the story with the genie in it. I didn't really understand.
I'm sorry. I'll try to clarify it once again. The genie has that species of genies which are guardians of hidden wealth. They are known as yakshas. Okay? So all of us, we are looking for this wealth of Krishna consciousness. So we are like the travelers. One day, it suddenly dawns on us that maybe we should leave the village or a life of comfort, that which we are used to, and travel to the city, because city has so many things, much more to offer. Right? Upgrade ourselves. So we want to upgrade our consciousness. We want something more in life. And that something more in life is we want to be Krishna conscious and not just conscious of material affairs. So we are attracted to taking up this journey. But then we have a family. Our family has 6 members in it. There is the mind and the 5 senses. Okay? Now, if the mind and the 5 senses have been programmed by us following a training program where they become our friend, especially the mind becomes our friend, then whatever activities we engage the mind and through it the senses in, they will follow. And when they follow, then the genie becomes interested in us and comes to us and wants to know what we are doing. And then we can say, oh, we want this hidden wealth of Krishna consciousness. And the genie will reveal it to us. Alright? Here the genie is this entire creation. The entire creation has been arranged so that we can find our lost Krishna consciousness. So it will be revealed to us. However, just as the neighbor's family of 6 people would not listen to his instructions, and still he took out his rope, he took out those jute fibers trying to make a rope, it was of no use. So practice of Krishna consciousness or Krishna conscious activities without actually befriending the mind and making the senses follow our instructions. Like eyes, we train them to see the form of Krishna, right? And develop a relationship with Krishna, with the deities. So there's this training, but if this training has not been done, then we may see the deities. But the eyes may visualize just the marble or maybe something else. So the eyes are not really listening to what we are telling them to do, because they have not been trained. Yes? So with untrained mind and senses, if we are trying to capture the genie, or we are trying to use the facilities of the universe to be fully Krishna conscious, then all that is going to happen is that we will become a laughing stock. No one is going to take us seriously. Yes? And we are simply going to remain entangled in this material universe. Alright? Then, the purport makes us a bit hopeful. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada says, for those who are devotees in Krishna consciousness, the mind is already a friend. Okay? So we have a friend. Now we have to get to know our friend. Somehow we were not really aware that we have a friend. We have been practicing Krishna consciousness. The mind is getting trained. But we are not really aware that we are befriending the mind and the senses. So we are blessed by a practice of Krishna consciousness. So does that clarify the lesson of the story?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, Prabhu.
Again, thank you very much for this class, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
The question is, you spoke about controlling the mind and what is the practical aspect, but the step before that, why would one, how can I make someone realize that it is really important to control the mind? Like in this example, when you said that these villagers, they went towards the wealth of Krishna consciousness. You said you defined wealth as Krishna consciousness, but in the practical world, the wealth that people go behind is not Krishna consciousness. So how is it that the first step itself can be taken?
Well, in the Krishna book, in the introduction, Mr. George Harrison kindly agreed to write the introduction to the Krishna book. Or the foreword rather, I guess, the foreword. George Harrison of the Beatles fame. And in the very first paragraph, he makes a very enlightening statement. Everyone is looking for Krishna. Some know it, some don't. So what does it mean looking for Krishna? The word Krishna itself, etymologically, if we dissect the word and try to find out where it comes from, the word Krishna means the all-attractive. Sarva akarshati iti Krishna. Now let's say there's a magnet, a very powerful magnet. It's stuck in that brick wall. I mean, it's so powerful that it has its magnetic field. The effect of the magnetic field, despite being bricked in or walled in. If I have, let's say, an iron trinket somewhere, some metal on me, and I come within the range of the magnetic field, what happens? It gets pulled. The metal gets pulled. I am amazed. How come this wall is attracting this metal? Right? And there are others who know and they come and tell me, don't worry, it's actually because there's a magnet inside. That's why it's happening. So similarly, everyone is looking for happiness in this world. Those who know that Krishna, being all attractive, is the reservoir of all happiness, they directly worship Krishna. Those who do not, they are attracted by happiness because Krishna is a powerful magnet and everyone is within his field of attraction. However, the wall is what is covering up his presence, the wall of our ignorance. Ignorance in terms of wanting to find pleasure other than in Krishna. We don't even know that maybe pleasure is Krishna. There's that ignorance. But the attraction is to Krishna because the attractive principle is Krishna. Krishna is all attractive and he is the reservoir of all pleasure. Alright? So, for those who do not know this, they feel the urge to be happy. So, for those who know it, it's of paramount importance that they explain that it is a magnet within the brick wall that is causing you to be attracted towards this happiness, the principle of happiness. Does that make sense? So for those who don't know it, this has to be revealed to them. That is actually Krishna. Krishna is the basis of everything. Now Krishna is there, he expands as Balaram, Balaram expands as Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, and Vasudeva. Then this Sankarshan expands as Narayan, Narayan expands as the second four forms. Then the second Sankarshan expands as Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu glances on material nature, he is lying down on the ocean of all cause, the causal ocean. So many universes come out, he impregnates them with the living entities who are desirous of enjoying. Within each universe there is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, within that there is 14 planetary systems, then there is, by the time you finish off the person is convinced. So it's not simply that we are saying, externally just superficial emotions. There's deep philosophy and knowledge, learning. But then, that knowledge and learning is meant to enable us to exhibit our emotions for Krishna. It is meant to complement the emotions that the living entities has towards real happiness, that is Krishna, the basis of real happiness. Is that all right? No. So yes, so we invite them to classes and we say, why don't you come to this class about cosmology or something like that? And they'll come. You're welcome. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So when you were talking about happiness, oftentimes when we try to tell people about like real happiness, as you were mentioning, the spiritual happiness, so this question pops up that the word happiness itself is it's a subjective term. So they often come up with arguments like, like I am also happy, you're also happy, whatever you're doing, so what's the big deal? So like when you try to explain, there is sensual pleasure, mental pleasure, intellectual pleasure, so they all say it's just your perspective.
Okay.
So how to go about it?
How to go about explaining to them what is happiness?
Yeah, so the point is it's subjective.
We are saying that we agree with your with your experience of happiness. All we are trying to explain is the source of that happiness. Right? I agree with, you are happy when you drink your Coke. All we are trying to explain is the source, where it comes from, the Coca-Cola company. And we can take you on a grand tour of it also, Like, Coke, oh my God. You lift entire pack of Coke like that. Someone does. And I tell them, why are you just, it's Coke, right? Let us take you to the company itself, and you'd see Coke falling down like a huge stream. Someone likes chocolate, and you take them to the chocolate factory. They're like, how much can I eat? How much can I eat? Oh my God, I just don't want to leave this place. I just want to stay here. So similarly, I have this happiness, I have relative happiness, this happiness. And when they come to the source of all happiness, I just don't want to leave this place. I just want to stay here. So we are not going to fight with them as to what is relative, what is not relative. If we are able to convey the feelings of what is happiness that we are feeling, and they are accepting it's well and good. And if that is not really happening, then we would like to explain the source of all happiness, Krishna. Okay?
Okay, bro. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.